Hi, I'm Derek, business systems coach for contractors, and you are amazing. How many contractors do I know who think about systematizing their business? Not too many. If you take action, so you're in the right place. I'm going to be sharing with you tips for systematizing your construction business. Okay, so before we jump in, make sure to give this video big thumbs, likes up, super appreciated. Subscribe to the channel for awesome content, how to grow your construction business. So first thing that we're gonna be talking about with systematizing your construction business is mindset. So you may be, I want tips, but hey, getting your mindset right of how to systematize, how to think about systems is super important so that you can actually execute them in the right way. So trust me on this, it's what I do. First thing on mindset, block time to work in your business. This is an investment, right? You invest your time, you only have so much, so invest it wisely. Block some time in your calendar every Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Saturday, if you work Saturdays, whenever you can carve out an hour or two of time, make it a weekly habit and make sure you actually use the time for what you block the time for, which is creating systems. That in and of itself will get you on track and already project you well past most people who are like, yeah, I'll do it. And they kind of like get super excited and then it just fizzles out, right? So make it a repetitive habit, stay disciplined with it. There's a contractor catch-22, right? Where you get super busy and you don't have time to build systems. You don't have time for anything because you just got a ton of work. Maybe it's spring or summer and you got all these projects, you got to hire people, you got to do this, got to do that. And it's like, oh, wait till, winter or like when things slow down, then I'll build out systems or then I'll look at systems. That time comes around, it's like, oh, things are slow. I've got to, get out there and do sales and marketing and this and that. And you never really have time. You never end up systematizing your business. So be prepared for that. That's a common contractor catch-22 and why a lot of contractors don't work on their business. I hope that's not you, but I see that all too often and they're just stuck in this cycle spinning their wheels. So another mindset thing to look out for is to remember software is a tool. You have to work with it. You have to work it. Software in and of itself it's a system, but it's not necessarily a business system. It's got to be implemented properly. Just having some software in place doesn't mean it's going to be effective. Doesn't mean you're using the software effectively. It's not necessarily going to land with people in your organization. So just getting some software in place, yes, that's a great first step, but it's a tool. You have to use it effectively. You have to set up effectively. You have to sharpen it. You have to use it properly, right? So if you're building a house and you've got a hammer and you need to screw down a floor, well, you're shit out of luck, right? So if you have the right software, but you're not using it properly, it's not going to be effective in your business. Does that make sense? All right. So last thing on mindset I'm going to touch on is when you're thinking about doing something. So when you do something in your business and you're planning to delegate it to someone else or create a system for it, how would I want to do this if I had to do it 1,000 times? So use that as a guide rule. If you had to do an estimate 1,000 times, would you want to be, like just relying off memory or searching Home Depot website for pricing or, doing manual takeoffs with a calculator? Probably not. You would be like, I have to do this 1,000 times. I'm going to take 5 hours, 10 hours to set up a proper estimating system, to build out a pricing list, to, whatever, XYZ, to be able to do an estimate 1,000 times in an effective and efficient way. So remember this for when you're doing whatever you're doing on site, whether that's, scheduling, talking to clients, sending emails. But like if I had to send 1,000 client update emails every week, would I want to be typing them all manually? Well, no, I hope not, because that's all you'd be doing all week. So use that as a guide rule and it'll get you thinking of like, if I did have to do this 1,000 times, what's the easiest way to do it? What's the best way to do it? That'll help you envision the system that you need to create or put into place and at least get a plan of like what it looks like. So does that make sense? That's all I'm going to spend on mindset. Super important, but you get the idea. Number 2, moving on, plan and design. So before you start systematizing your business, you need some plan, you need some design. This is preliminary work, but you need to be thinking it out. Again, just getting some software in place and, getting a spreadsheet. Yeah, that's great. But what's the overall vision? How is this going to, incorporate? Whose responsibility is this? What are all the pieces to the puzzle, right? So I see this so often with contractors where they've got these different systems. They got a spreadsheet for this and a Google Doc for this and like some training manual for this. It's all different formats and different people use it and it's just a mess, right? Because there's no thought to it. There's no overall, system of systems, if you will. So priority, what should you prioritize? This is the first thing I generally work on with clients after understanding their business, obviously, but it's like, what are we going to prioritize right now? What is important? Is it sales and marketing? Do we need to drive business? Is it project management? You have too much work and you need to get better project management and project managers in place. Is it finances? Is your financial systems a mess? Do you know job costing? Do you have debts and have have no idea of like what your expenses are every week or month, or overhead or markup or margins or all that stuff, right? So what area is most priority right now? And that's where you need to focus on, and just focus on that. Once you have a system built out, you know, the 80-20 rule, if you can get, you know, 80% of the effectiveness of the system in 20% of the time, get that in, then move on to the next priority. You can always refine and improve it later. Improving what you already have. So you may already have some systems in place. So instead of, you know, reinventing the wheel, can you effectively reuse some of those systems and just like, you know, make them more effective, or utilize what you already have? Like I mentioned before with the software, you may have software in place, but maybe you're only using it for scheduling and maybe job tracking or budgeting, right? So how can you utilize that software to be more effective? Maybe, you know, adding it, integrating it with other software. Maybe there's features in there where you can have your on-site personnel, you know, uploading their hours or whatever, right? So what are you already using that you can improve or add to? The idea as well for planning and designing is you want to document, and then you want to delegate. So that's kind of the journey, if you will, from idea to offloading something. So generally you've done it yourself, or someone in your organization has that you can rely on. So you've managed a project, you've done an estimate, you've done a sales call, you've done a sales meeting, whatever it is, you've done it. You want to document, what are you doing, right? So sales meeting, I show up, I bring my laptop or my tablet or my sales presentation, I walk around with the client, I talk with them about this, I get their information, I write the notes, I follow up with them, we create a budget. So after you've done it, document what you're doing, and then you can start to delegate that process. So there's definitely like more effective ways. If you want help with any of this, like, I mean, it's not super high level, but this is more of like an overview with some specific tips and tricks and stuff like that. But if you want this like done for you, or in a way that is like helping you specifically with this, reach out to me. Links in the description below. I'll be happy to help you with systematizing your business. So final thing on planning and designing is simplify. So again, these systems can get convoluted, they can get big, you can have this and that and everything in them. Try to be simplifying them and, you know, paring them down to what's essential. Often things like, you know, you start with the basics and they grow and they get bigger, and then before you know it, it's like, what is all this stuff that we're trying to, you know, implement and use here? So try to keep things simple, keep it consistent across your organization. So that is the planning and design. Now we're moving on to infrastructure, the fun stuff. Number 3, the actual implementation, the actual building of your systems. There's going to be 5 different main areas of systems that you need in your business, and I've got videos on, you know, each one of these things. So if you want like more specific help with all these other videos, tons of information for you in here and ways to help you with your business. So marketing, generally you're going to want some marketing systems in place. So what are these? And if it's even just hiring a marketing agency, but you should have some sort of like system of how do you get content to them, how do you manage them, so those kind of things. Estimating, which we mentioned before, this is usually a fairly, maybe not easy, although fairly easy. It's a good place to start for a lot of contractors because they spend way too much time. Estimating becomes a big part of what you do as a business owner, and you get stuck in it because you're too afraid to give that up to a project manager, or to have, you know, hire an estimator or someone, because you're worried, because I mean, that is the lifeblood as far as like profitability of your business. If you estimate something improperly, it could really screw you over later on. So often we are afraid as a business owner to delegate or give that, you know, what you do up, but you're spending all your evenings or overtime or after hours work, you know, estimating these projects for people. And honestly, you've got better things to do. Running numbers is something you can hire someone to do very easily. If you have the right system in place, you have the right checks and balances, you review it. Maybe you're spending 10 minutes, 15 minutes reviewing a budget instead of, you know, an hour or two putting it together. And you can pay someone probably a lot less than what you should be making as a business owner. So estimating, great place to build out your infrastructure. Project management is another one. I've got a specific video on how to train project managers and how to, you know, manage projects. So check out that. Client management and financials. So all of these are systems that you'll need to put into place. And again, you want to prioritize what's important. If you want any help with specifics on this, reach out to me. I've got links in the description below, how to build a business that works without you. So free resource, tons of great content there. Kudos to you for wanting to systematize your business. You are in the right place. This is so essential, and any business owner at a high level is going to understand that systems are so super important for you to be able to take a step back and have that freedom of why you started your business in the first place. So here's the best with you, systematizing your business. I'll see you in the next video.